Hey, everybody, back today again. We're continuing our series of ranking the number one hits. Today, we're looking at 1968 here with Randall Nelson. And we've been doing this from 65 on. We're going to take it to 1975. So 1968, interesting year in music. Got a couple of, questionable tunes that made it to number one. A few mediocre ones, in my opinion, and then pretty top heavy after that. Some really solid songs. So, what do you think, Randy? Interesting ranking coming
Yeah,
up.
I thought the bottom was there's like I said, there's a few in the bottom that I wasn't crazy about, but the top about four, five or six, I think, are just excellent songs.
Yeah,
This year.
I'm trying to remember. Did we match in any of the years? I think we might have matched in 67.
Last year we or yeah, 67 we both had Ruby Tuesday.
That's right. Yeah. So, see what happens. We don't know each other's list. We're going to go in reverse order. Randy will do the 15 through 11. And then when we get down to 10, we'll go back and forth one at a time like we do each week. And at the end, we'll do some honorable mentions or 5 songs that never made it to number one that we want to single out as either personal favorites or significant songs for the year. So jump in, Randy. What do you have? 15 through 11.
All right. 15, there was a 2006 CNN article that called this the worst song of all time. It actually made it to number one. The Tearjerker, Honey by Bobby Goldsboro. I don't know if it's the worst number one song of all time. Barry Sadler's song is not very good either. But it's just, a lot of people say, oh, it's so sad. But if you really listen to it, the guy that's telling the story sounds like kind of a jerk because he was like, she was kind of smart and kind of dumb and kind of smart is how he said. She wrecked the car and she was sad and so afraid that I get mad, but what the heck? I was like, he's telling all the bad things she did, but she was still okay. It's like, what kind of sad song is this? I don't know. She's needlessly crying in the middle of the day. Well, that might have been a sign. So I don't know if in the song she actually committed suicide or what.
Yeah.
But just the whole way he sings it, just I don't care for it. Bobby Goldsboro's crooning, kind of with the syrupy strings. He was one time a guitarist for Roy Orbison, I heard. But this song is just terrible.
Yeah.
Don't like anything about it. But anyway. So that's my number 15. My number 14 is kind of a novelty song. It's Judy in Disguise with Glasses by John Fred and his Playboy band. I guess the song title came from some people were mishearing the lyrics for Lucy in Disguise with Diamonds. They were thinking it was Lucy in Disguise with Diamonds.
Right.
That's where the song title came from. That was John Fred Gourier. So he shortened it to John Fred. It's got like psychedelic lyrics, but without psychedelic music. Like a lemonade pie with your brand new car, cantaloupe eyes, come to me tonight, Judy in Disguise with Glasses. And at the end of the song, he's actually saying he's going to take away her glasses. So I don't know. It's just a strange song. Like I said, it's a novelty song. And it does have some cool kind of music in it, but like I said, it's not really psychedelic for what the lyrics are. But that's my number 14. All right, number 13. This Guy's in Love with You by Herb Alpert. Now, Herb Alpert was, of course, the main guy for A&M. He and Jerry Moss started A&M Records. And this song was written by Burt Bacharach and Hal David. And Herb Alpert was a great trumpet player. He was not a singer, but he does sing on this song, and it's his only number one hit. Is a song he sings on. I guess they did it for like a TV special, and so many people wrote in, liking the song that they decided to release it as a single, and it went to number one. But the thing about this song is, and I don't know if you've ever seen, what was the name of that group? Faith No More. Is that the name of them?
That's the name of them. Yeah.
Yeah, Faith No More. They actually used to close their concert sometimes with this song, and you can go on YouTube, and they actually do a pretty good job of this song. But like you said, it's a little syrupy. I like the orchestral section on it, but
Yeah.
Herb Alpert was not a singer, really. It's just like a lot of the actors that would sometimes do a song and like David Soul and have a hit with it. So anyway, that's my number 13. My number 12 is Green Tambourine by the Lemon Pipers. They were on Buddha Records, which at the time, they were like the kings of bubblegum with like 1910 Fruit Gum Company and all those type groups. Lou Christie was actually on there for a while too. But they were an Ohio bar band. But the thing with the Lemon Pipers is that they sound like a group that should be on Lawrence Welk rather than like a bar band group that was, making a hit song. They had actually lost to the James Gang in Cleveland in the Battle of the Bands the year before. They had this song. There was a couple Brill Building writers that wrote it, Paul Lika and Shelley Pins. And actually, I'm surprised there are not more songs about tambourine since Green Tambourine went to number 1, Tambourine Man went to number 1.
Yeah.
It's not like a hot topic. It's kind of psych pop. It's got some sitars and strings, kind of echoey vocals. So it is kind of cool. And the guitarist, Bill Bartlett, would later ended up with Ram Jam, and they had the hit Black Betty. But that's my number 12, Green Tambourine by the Lemon Pipers. My number 11 is a song I think I told you that I didn't think I recognized, but as soon as I heard it, then I knew I'd heard it. It's Grazing in the Grass by Hugh Masekela, who was a South African jazz trumpeter. But and seems like at this time period, instrumental music was really big. You had like Herb Alpert, you had like Sergio Mendes and the Brazil 66, the Baja Marimba Band, and another instrumental hit that's up on that was out this year too that went to number 1.
Right.
But it's really a kind of cool instrumental hit with his trumpet. I liked it, and now I can't really do the melody now. Now that I'm wanting to do it, I forgot it kind of.
Yeah.
But he was an interesting. He studied trumpet in London and New York, and he actually played on the Byrds, so he wanted to be a rock and roll star. But it has a cool trumpet and it has cowbell in it, so it can't be all bad.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, actually 2 of yours I have in my top 10, so just for the record. But obviously my number 15, I agree with you 100%. Honey by Bobby Goldsboro, the worst song on this list. Pure schmaltz, tearjerker. Rolling Stone readers ranked it as the 2nd worst song of the 60s, behind Yummy 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 by the Ohio Express.
I think they were on Buddha too, I think.
Yep, they were part of that 1910 Fruit Gum Company style, bubblegum. The weird part about Honey here is it lasted 5 weeks at number 1. It wasn't just a 1-week thing. 5 weeks. So a month, people were buying this 45 and requesting it on the radio. And it's just like, come on, why? Just not very interesting. Without a doubt, if I had to list 100 songs from 1968, this wouldn't even make it. So of the number 1s, it's clearly the worst. My number 14, I'm assuming you like it because it hasn't come up yet, and that's Harper Valley PTA, written by Tom T. Hall, sung by Jeannie C. Riley. That's not a bad song. I don't hate it. It's country. It's kind of a mocking or fun song. 1 week at number 1. Jeannie C. Riley was from Texas, and the girl comes home from a teenage girl comes home from school and says that her mother's name came up for wearing her skirt way too short, and it turns into a little Peyton place where everybody's catty and talking about each other, and There's a pregnant secretary referred to, and drinking problems, and all that kind of catcalling behind closed doors. And it's a cute song. And then at the end it says, "The day my mama socked it to the Harper Valley PTA." It's like she went back and gave him a piece of her mind. So it's fun. But that's where I put it at 14. Number 13 is "Grazing in the Grass," which you mentioned, by Hugh Masekela, the South African trumpet player. Jazzy, pleasant, like a cool vibe. It's a good song. And the next year in 69, they actually made a vocal version of this. It made the charts. The Friends of Distinction were the pop group, R&B pop group that had words to it. I can dig it, they can dig it, she can dig it, "Grazing in the Grass." It was, I think, maybe a top 20 hit for them. They were like a poor man's Fifth Dimension, the Friends of Distinction. So that came into play. But I like the jazz version here by Hugh on the trumpet. Very, very nice. My number 12 is the other instrumental, "Love is Blue" by Paul Moriat. And this is another one that was 5 weeks at number one. Really a successful song. Instrumental. Got a French, he's a French orchestra leader, Paul Moriat, and hit it big on the pop charts for 5 weeks. He was 43 years old at the time. While all these young guys and girls are on the pop charts, you got 43-year-old Paul Moriat coming in with this instrumental. It was like a surprise hit. And like you said, instrumentals were the thing back then. You had, Booker T and the MGs were another group that were doing instrumentals, and Al Hurt, I think he had some success early on, and there's a bunch of them that came in, but "Love is Blue," it's a nice song for sure. And I was looking at the actual charts week by week just to see, when this was occupying the number one slot, what songs were right behind it that never got to be number one because this was in front of it. One of them was Dionne Warwick's "Valley of the Dolls." It sat at number 2 for 3 weeks. And "Spooky" by the Classics 4 sat at number 3 for 3 weeks. So those were the ones that in any other week maybe might have eventually placed at number one. But "Love is Blue" had its moment in the sun. Number 11, you mentioned "This Guy's in Love with You" by Herb Alpert, who was known primarily for being the trumpet player and the leader of the Tijuana Brass. 4 weeks at number one for a guy that never sung before. Burt Bacharach, Hal David, you mentioned the songwriting. And Dionne Warwick had a version of this that was called "This Girl's in Love with You," that made it to number 7 in 1969. It's just easy listening pop music. The guy doesn't have a real strong voice, but somehow gets by. And the public was a sucker for it back then, going for 4 weeks at number one. So surprising when you look back retrospectively and say, how did this ever make it to number one? But it did, and it lasted for a month. So that's my 15 through 11. Now we're going to get into the number 10, and you can go, and then I'll go back and forth.
Yeah, my number 10, I guess I like a little bit more than you, but it's "Love is Blue," Paul Marriott. Kind of easy listening. I know as a kid, I used to always like that. Na, 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 na,
It's nice. Yeah.
I don't know. And it's interesting that it was like a Eurovision hit with Vicky Leanders with vocals, and then he took it and just made an instrumental song out of it and had a hit with the US. And he and Daft Punk are the only French artists to ever hit number one in the United States.
Very nice.
And the part I really like about it is the harpsichord that they use.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool. But you don't hear too many songs where the harpsichord becomes a big part of your song.
No, it's a cool listen. I kind of like it. My number 10 is "Love Child" by Diana Ross and the Supremes. Good solid song. It was their 11th number one tune. Neither Mary Wilson or Cindy Birdsong sang back up. They had other people come in. This time they changed the actual name from the Supremes to Diana Ross and the Supremes. She was the headliner. And it tells the story of a mother giving birth to a child out of wedlock. Controversial for its time in the 60s. Twice performed on the Ed Sullivan Show. And this song actually dethroned the Beatles' "Hey Jude" after spending 9 weeks at number one. So "Love Child" was the one that took it off the number one spot. That's its claim to fame. The lyrics are love child, never meant to be, love child, scorned by society, love child, always second best, love child, different from the rest. Really good song, topical. I enjoy it. So it cracked the top 10 for me.
My number 9 is Tighten Up by Archie Bell and the Drells. I had this song on, I had a 4 LP compilation of 60s songs. It was kind of like a K-Tel thing, but with some other company. But I remember playing this one a lot. He starts out saying, I'm Archie Bell and the Drells, and we're from Houston, Texas. And we don't only sing, we dance as well as we want. And it's kind of a funky James Brown like thing he was doing, where they had a groove. It was more a groove than it was a song in a way. And he would just, rattling off stuff as the backup group, which and he wrote it with bandmate Billy Butler, which is not the Billy Butler that's Jerry Butler's brother, but more of just a songwriter. And backing up was the TSU Tornadoes. They probably deserve as much credit as anyone because providing the backup music in the song. But the call, I like how he calls like, okay, the drums, and then the guy the drums, and he calls for the bass and then the guitar. It's a cool song. I've always liked
it. I agree. That's my number 9 also. We hit on the money on that one. Definitely the funkiest song of the year, Archie Bell and the Drells from Houston, Texas. He's in, like you said, this is the part of the song that sticks to my memory. I had it on a 45 when I was a kid. He's introducing, hear that guitar player, and then you hear that. Now, how about the drums? And then you hear a little drum solo and the bass, all that kind of stuff. And then the organ solo, which is real funky. It's a cool song. It's one of a kind song, really. I don't remember anybody else doing one like that. 2 weeks at number 1. And Archie Bell was the brother of Ricky Bell, who played in the NFL and the USFL, which I didn't know until I did a little research here. And he was also a Vietnam vet. So he served time in Nam, came back, and had this big number 1 hit. So shout out Archie Bell and the Drells at number 9.
I think I read where Billy Butler was trying to cheer him up because he got his draft notice. He was going to go over to Vietnam, and he's kind of doing a little dance, and that's how the Tighten Up kind of got started.
Yep.
But my number 8 is People's Got to Be Free by the Rascals. This was their 3rd number 1 hit song, and the weird thing is they were all kind of different. You had Groovin', which is kind of a slower pace, kind of like it was a groove basically.
Yeah.
And then you had what's the other? Good Lovin'. Yeah. That was kind of a garagey R&B song, hard R&B song, and then this is more of a kind of a blue-eyed soul song. Filled with optimism. It was written after the assassination of Martin Luther King. See that train over there? That's the train to freedom. It's kind of vague on what they were really singing about. I mean, they weren't specific on anything, but it's a nice song. I always love Felix Cavalleri's voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's my number 8.
My number 8 is when you had down near the bottom, I believe. Yeah, Judy in Disguise. Kind of a one-hit wonder. John Fred, the Playboy Band. I like the arrangement of the song. It's catchy. He does have sort of a soulful voice. I had another one I had on 45 back then. It brings back 5th grade memories to me. They were from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I like that silly line, Cantaloupe Eyes, Come to Me Tonight, and the drum beat there. And another guy that died young, John Fred, even though he never repeated the success. Kidney transplant, died at age 63. And always been a kind of a semi-favorite of mine for whatever, I guess because I owned it as a kid and played it to death. But that's number 8.
All right. Number 7 is Love Child, Diana Ross and the Supremes. This was after Holland Dozier Holland had left over royalty disputes. And the protagonist in the song, is talking about she doesn't want her child to become what she was, which was, disregarded because
Right.
she was born out of wedlock and all that kind of thing. But and at the time, Barry Gordy had not really did any kind of social issues and kind of avoided that. But I guess he decided, he's got to change the times. And this was written by Pam Sawyer, Frank Wilson, Deke Richards, and Ardeen Taylor, which I don't know the other ones, but I know Ardeen Taylor had the big hit "Indiana Wants Me."
That's
He
right.
was a Canadian, but that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But but I like the song, and I like Diana Ross's singing on this. I think is
Yeah.
really one of her better vocals.
It is. It's excellent. And yeah, talking about social issues with Motown, they really avoided that up until this point. And then the Temptations did some things like Ball of Confusion and things like that that brought, and Marvin Gaye eventually with What's Going On. So they were changing with the times. My number 7 is Green Tambourine, that psychedelic pop tune by the Lemon Pipers. They're out of Oxford, Ohio. You mentioned that contest with the James Gang, which they lost. It's kind of high level bubblegum pop, but it is psychedelic in nature. You got a street musician playing his green tambourine, panhandling for money a little bit. Kind of cool vibe. It's kind of hippie music for the masses, I think. Ivan Brown, the unknown lead vocalist of that band. So anybody ever mentions Ivan Brown, you can say, yeah, he had a #1 hit with the Lemon Pipers, Green Tambourine. Kind of a song for its time. So that would be my number 7.
Okay. Well, my number 6 is one apparently I like a lot more than you do.
Yeah, I can see it coming.
That's Harper Valley PTA by Jeannie C. Riley. The song was written by Tom T. Hall. And he was always a great storyteller. And I guess there was a Margie Singleton asked him to write a song that's kind of like Ode to Billy Joe that has a story in it. And he wrote this song for her, and it didn't do much on the charts. But there was a producer that thought, if you got somebody a little more sexy to sing this song, maybe it would do better. And so he got Janie C. Riley, but he looked good in hot pants. And about the widow, and I like how that in the story at the end, it's revealed that the widow's daughter is the one that's singing the song, and that her mama socked it to the Harper Valley PTA.
I like that too.
Was a big thing at that time, because at the same time, Laugh-In was on TV, and Judy Carn had the famous "Sock It to Me" girl, which interesting tidbit that says nothing to do with this, but my first autograph was from Judy Carn. I sent in a thing for her to sign, and she sent back a autographed 8x10 photo.
That's very nice.
Nothing to do with the song. Maybe that helped. I don't know. But I just think Riley kind of tears into the song, and I've always kind of.
She's good. She does a good job on the song. Wasn't Judy Carn married to Burt Reynolds at one time too?
Yeah.
I kind of remember that. That's cool. You got her autograph. That was number 6. Yes. Yeah. My number 6 is "Hello, I Love You" by The Doors. One of their more commercial songs. Lyrics inspired by a young black girl that Jim Morrison saw on the beach. Do you hope to pluck this dusky jewel? Waiting for the Sun was the album it was appeared on. There were some plagiarism accusations associated with the song, but I don't see the comparison. I forget what song they were supposedly ripping off, but I don't buy it. I think it was a Kinks song, but I may be mistaken. I like the song. Obviously, it's number 6 on this list. So I just like those 5 in front of it a little bit more. And the Doors were on fire in '68, obviously.
Yeah, I have it at my number 5. "Hello, I Love You" by The Doors. This was an older song that he had written earlier when they were Rick and the Ravens performing it before the Doors, which really basically the Doors without Robbie Krieger. But kind of a garage rock gem, very catchy, great fuzzy guitar by Krieger on it. And it's kind of a horny come on by Jim Morrison, but it's entertaining. I like the drums at the beginning before it gets starts into the song. But yeah, it's a good song. It's
It
catchy.
is very catchy. My number 5 is Mrs. Robinson, Simon and Garfunkel's classic from the Graduate movie, which came out the year before in '67. 3 weeks at number 1. It also appears on Bookends, which came out the same year here in '68. Won 2 Grammy Awards, and it was ineligible for the Oscars because it wasn't written exclusively for the film. It wasn't submitted as whatever the rules are. You got the Joe DiMaggio reference, our nation turns its lonely eyes to you. Ooh, 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 Joltin' Joe, what's that you say? I like that kind of stuff. It's got a little baseball in it. Joltin' Joe is left and going away. Hey, hey, hey. Another catchy song for a Simon and Garfunkel song. It's usually they're more into the lyrics and the seriousness of it at times, but this is kind of a pop song that everybody could relate to, and originally written about Eleanor Roosevelt, which I didn't know. I should have known it, but I didn't. He changed the name to Mrs. Robinson, and some of the reference here going to the candidates debate. So that's part of that Roosevelt thing. Laugh about it, shout about it. What you got to choose. Anyway, you look at it, you lose. So I enjoy the song. Not my favorite Simon and Garfunkel song by a long ways, but for this exercise here, it comes in at number 5.
All right. My number 4 is Mrs. Robinson, Simon and Garfunkel, like you said, written for The Graduate. It's funny about the Joe DiMaggio reference that later Paul Simon met Joe DiMaggio in a restaurant, and Joe DiMaggio said, like, I haven't gone anywhere. And I guess Paul tried to say, well, it's more about the loss of heroes and that, the innocence that's been lost, and
That's
not
right.
necessarily that you're gone somewhere. But yeah, so I love the Cuckoo Cuckoo. I liked how they would spruce up. They would put little guitar noodlings and things and simple pop songs that if you really listen to it, there's a lot of other stuff going on in most Simon and Garfunkel songs that I really like.
Yeah, that's true.
And like I said, it doesn't really have anything to do with the movie other than the title, Mrs. Robinson, but it's still cool in the movie. But,
It is cool in the movie, the way it comes in, yeah.
So that's my number 4.
My number 4 is one you had a little bit back, and that's People Got to Be Free by the Rascals. Another one that had huge success, 5 weeks at number 1, summer of '68. Turbulent year that year with the assassinations and the Democratic Convention and the Vietnam War. And, this is a call for freedom and an anthem really for, people to get together. A lot of songs were at that time. You mentioned 3 years in a row we've hit a Rascal song. It hit number 1, and they were all different. I love Felix Cavalera's voice. He's got one of the better voices of the '60s, that blue-eyed soul voice, and he can do all kinds of different styles. We've already referred to that, whether it be the garage rock, the up-tempo good lovin', or the ballad, that vibe itself in grooving. And now this song, they're all different. They're all great. And he's giving you that half-spoken line at the end about the train to freedom. It's about to arrive any minute now. It's been long overdue. Look out, because it's coming right on through. I like that little end part after the singing. So that's my number 4. Looks like our top 3 are all the same, but what order will they be? That is the question.
And I may get killed for my number 3. And I've talked about this before. I think it's a great song. I just have one little problem with it, and that's Hey Jude by the Beatles. I think it's too long. The na 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 na, it just goes on for 4 minutes. This was written after John's breakup. Everyone knows the story. It was kind of about Julian Lennon, and I guess George Martin, the producer, was uncomfortable with the link, saying that radio stations wouldn't play it, and supposedly John Lennon said they will if it's us, and John Lennon was right. Of course, I think George Martin was also right in that it's too long, but it's got a great melody. I love the piano. I'm not sure if I care for the kind of, I know Paul McCartney was a fan of Little Richard, and he kind of does the Judy, kind of does that.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I'm not crazy about that part. If
Yeah.
if the last maybe 2 or 3 minutes were cut off the song, it would be perfect. But for me, whenever I hear it on the radio, or if I'm playing the number one hits, or what's that one called? Number ones.
Number one, yeah, of the
Yeah,
Beatles,
number
number one.
ones. A lot of times when they start getting to that part, I go to the next song.
Yeah,
No, that's terrible, but that's me.
I don't have a problem with the length, even though I hear what you're saying. It's my number three also, believe it or not. I have it number three with the 4 minute, no, 9 weeks at number one. It's an all-time landmark. And the B-side was Revolution. I mean, the real revolution. Written for Julian. You talked about that. Take a sad song, make it better. I love the promotional video they did with it, but they're all singing around, and it's just fantastic. Beatles near the end in '68. I mean, we didn't know it at the time that they only had another year and a half left, but an all-time great song. But I like the two songs I have in front of it. I think are a little bit better overall, so that's why they're there.
Yeah, my number 2 and 1, I had reversed when I first look at the list, I put what I think it's going to be, and then I start listening to the songs and see if I change my mind.
Yeah.
But my number 2 is actually, there was a Dave Marsh for Rolling Stone magazine. He wrote a book called The 1001 Greatest Singles of All Time, and he had this song at as the greatest number one song of all time. I Heard It Through the Grapevine by Marvin Gaye. It's kind of about, love affair. He's heard, rumors going on. But it's also kind of about rescuing your spirit, soul searching. And Marvin Gaye, man, he chants, he coos, he frets, he elongates syllables. It's a tour de force vocal performance by him. And, the song had been actually hit before with Gladys Knight. But her version really pales in comparison. Of course, CCR did more a psychedelic version of the song, or swampy rock, or whatever you want to call their version of this one. But I love the beginning with the electric piano.
Yeah.
And then you hear the tambourine go, and, they're just kind of shaking it and it's just perfect beginning to the song. And then I think a lot of people it's been so played, the California Raisin in the commercial. It's so prevalent that, maybe some people got sick of the song, but it's still an amazing song. And it's just one of my favorites by him. So that's my number 2.
Yep. My number 2 is Sitting on the Dock of the Bay by Otis Redding. Recorded 3 days prior to his death in a plane crash. Amazing. And first single ever posthumously released to hit number 1 on the US charts. A lot of interesting facts. Booker T and the MGs are the backing musicians on this. I love the whistle at the end. He's sitting there watching the tide roll away, and then he gets into that whistle. And to me, it's his claim to fame. I know he's had other really stirring songs, soulful songs, but this is the one I always associate with Otis Redding, because it's sort of a swan song. It was his last recorded tune, right? So yeah. That's my number 2.
Yeah, that's my number 1 now, I guess you see. But on a different day, it could switch back and forth. But it's kind of a mood piece filled with contemplation.
Yep.
And like I said, it was his last recorded song. You kind of wondered what this album would be like, because it's none of his, hard, soulful singing. I guess he had been listening to the Beatles and some other groups, and was taking some things, was going to incorporate other things into his pop music, which would have been very interesting to see what this album would have been like if he would have lived. And what kind of album could it be? And I guess he wrote the first verse, and I think Steve Cropper wrote most of the rest of the verses. Mm-hmm. He was the Booker and the T's Booker T and the MG's guitarist. Yes. He also added the seagull effects, which I thought were pretty cool too.
That is cool.
Yeah. And he was, like I said, he was crooning more than shouting. And I don't know who hasn't tried to do the whistle that they do at the end.
I tried. I get about two verses in, and then I die. But yeah, it's cool as hell. And you can act, you can put yourself on that dock, whistling alone, contemplative, like you said. It's a vibe. It's a cool song. My number one is Heard It Through the Grapevine, a soul classic by Marvin Gaye. This is the definitive version, no doubt. I mean, I like all the other versions, don't get me wrong, the Gladys Knight one, which is a faster moving version, but this is a heart and soul version here. This is, you believe every word he's saying, the way he sings it. Norman Whitfield, Barrett Strong are the songwriters. 7 weeks at number one. California Raisins, I wrote that down. Everybody got sick of that commercial, but it also appears in The Big Chill at the funeral scene in the beginning of the movie. Heard It Through the Grapevine. They're all coming out of their cars because they heard it through the grapevine. This person died that they all knew in college. It fits the film. They picked, that's another story, but they picked a great soundtrack, and this is on it. One of Marvin Gaye's all-time. It's hard to pick a top Marvin Gaye song. I mean, he's given us so much between all the '60s stuff and then the whole "What's Going On" and "Let's Get It On" and just on and on. Marvin Gaye's one of the all-timers. So that's my number one. Like you said, any of those top three could have been number one for me. Even Hey Jude, Dock of the Bay, or Heard It Through the Grapevine. But when I was compiling the list on that day, that's the way they ended up. It's the way these things go. Now we're going to go into our little honorable mention where we each pick out 5 songs that we want to single out for the year that never quite made the top spot on the Billboard list. So what do you have for your 5?
Well, one is All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. It only made it to number 20. The all-time Dylan cover. I don't think anybody did the Dylan song better than he did on that one. He made it his own. Also, I Wish It Would Rain by the Temptations, which made it to number 4. The Weight by the Band, which made it to number 35. Did it have to make the top 40 or have to make the top?
Anywhere in the top 100 is cool.
Then I've got You Ain't Going Nowhere by the Byrds, which only made it to number 74.
Woo!
Is that 4?
Yeah, it's 4.
And my last one would be Jumpin' Jack Flash by the Rolling Stones, only made it to number 3.
Yeah, I'm glad you included that because that was my next level of songs because I love that song. But my 4, I have one, or my 5, I have one the same. I Wish It Would Rain by the Temptations, one of their best songs. Number 4 for me. I have Abraham, Martin, and John, also a favorite of mine, like Dion at number 4. Just Dropped In to See What Condition My Condition Was In by Kenny Rogers in the first edition. Number 5 song. Midnight Confessions, another personal favorite by the Grassroots at number 5. And I could not go without The Weight by the Band at number 35. So we have a couple of the same there. All Along the Watchtower, I agree, is probably the best cover of a Dylan song I've ever heard in my life. Even the Bird stuff. I mean, the way Jimmy does with that song is incredible. He makes it his own. Way better than the Dylan version. Not even close. Not even the same ballpark. So very cool. 68. Great year. Next time we're going to do 69, which I haven't even looked ahead yet, but I'm sure there'll be a couple surprises there, good and bad. There always is. Fun time. Enjoyed it. Thanks, Randy, for coming on as usual.
Thank you.
I want to advise all the people watching to check out Randall Nelson. He's got an extensive collection, all kinds of music, vast knowledge as well. So check his channel out. I'll leave a link in the description below. So until next time, please leave comments, like, subscribe. It helps us gain more traction in the VC. More people will see our videos if you like it. And subscribe to our channels, both of us. Leave some comments. We will answer all the responses, and we appreciate you watching. So for Randy, this is Rich. Take care, and we'll see you next time. See ya. Bye.
Take care.